Hello, and welcome everybody. Welcome to the ONINO 2025 June community update. As always, we're going to give everyone a couple minutes to join, so lean back and enjoy the music and enjoy fresh ONINO news from the press in a couple minutes. Hello everyone, for the new joiners, we're just going to wait in for 1 or 2 minutes to give everyone the opportunity to join. This is the ONINO June 2025 community update. Happy to have you here. We're going to jump right into it in a couple minutes. All right. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you here. This is the June 25 ONINO community update. As you see, we have a little fresh design. We tried to represent our new design as we are working with more and more professionals, the marketing agency, and maybe some more people joining the team that we're going to talk about later. So this is a new, fresh update. It's not been professionally done. I wouldn't call myself a professional, but I used a couple minutes to refresh the ONINO update. So this is the ONINO community update June 25, as I already said. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Today, we're going to talk about the events. We have gathered a couple of events, and we're going to present to you the ONINO 2025 event planning schedule. There's one secret event we're not going to talk about just yet, but there is a couple that we're going to follow and go to. Then we are diving very deep into token utility. For a very long time, we have prepared the ONINO blockchain, the ONINO ecosystem. Now it's here, and now we're working on token utility much more than what we already have at the moment. So this is going to be really interesting. Essentially, ONI as a ground of connection in the ONINO ecosystem and using the token not just to pay transactions, but much more. Then we're going to talk about team, because we do have some new joiners. And then, as always, at the end, it's question time. Let's jump right in. All right, we have a couple events upcoming, and those are the events that we are going to go to. There is an event that we are going to host, but we're not going to talk about this just yet. We are going to go to the FCC in Cannes in June. Then in September, we're going to be on the Bits and Pretzels in Munich. In October, on the Token 2049 in Singapore. October, the Expo Real in Munich. In November, the Web Summit in Lisbon. And the Slush in Helsinki. All of those are very different conferences. For example, the EFCC in Cannes is the amazing Ethereum ecosystem and everything around it. Bits and Pretzels is a German founders-focused ecosystem. And the Token 2049 is very Web3 focused in Singapore, like the one we visited last year in Singapore as well, or just recently in April in Dubai. Then the Expo Real is a real estate conference, which is going to be really interesting as well, because we are very much different than most of the others there, because we have a solution for real estate built on tokenization, and we're likely going to be the only ones there, which is great for us. Then the Web Summit in Lisbon, which is a general innovative technology, startup, new and innovative company conference. And then Slush, which is also, I would say, the heart of innovation in Helsinki. So this is going to be pretty interesting. As always, many conferences, many things to do. The whole team is not going to go everywhere, so we're trying to focus our attention. Last year it was always Kai, Lucas, and I, because we tried to get as much as possible out of the conference for everyone. So from knowledge, contacts, and everything. We have built this know-how, we have built the contacts. We see that conferences are extremely important still, but we are not going to go to all of them all together. The next part we want to talk about is token utility. And as I already teased in the beginning, token utility has been something that we haven't had for a long time because the blockchain wasn't there. The only thing that you could do was preparation for the staking, and we essentially prepared the whole ecosystem and the usage of the blockchain and the token. Now that we have the blockchain, we have token utility, and we want to expand it. We see ONINO as an ecosystem and not just as a blockchain, not just as one single product. And if you have a look at ONINO.io, for example, you don't see mentions of the token too much. You see a lot of tokenization platform and what you can do with tokenization in general. And we thought that we would like to have something that could strengthen the connection between the ONINO tokenization platform, the ONINO blockchain, and everything around it. And the ONI token is the best asset we can use for this. You can, on one hand, of course, starting today or even a couple of months ago, early April, pay for transactions with the ONI token. You can delegate a stake of tokens for the validators and many more things to come. But we have thought about many other things that you can do. And I'm not talking about things like buyback and burn. We're talking about real utility. And I'm going to go into those in the next slides with Kai and Lucas. And we have structured it into, first, we're going to talk about the ONINO blockchain and how we bring token utility onto the blockchain with the ONI token, then the ONINO tokenization platform, then the ecosystem, and at the end, the benefits for ONI token holders in general. And first, I would like to talk about types of utility. And types of utility that we see are four. The first is paying for transactions. The other one is holding for features, then paying for features and participation. Those are general categories of utility that we say make sense. Like I said in the beginning, things like buybacks and burn, I don't see them being sustainable. So this is not something we're going to focus on. Those are the ones that we see being important in the ONINO ecosystem. So, and I would say let's jump right into token utility and the ONINO blockchain as a topic. And I'm going to give the mic to Lucas.
All right. Thank you, Alex. And also warm welcome from my side to this month's update. I believe the most straightforward utility around the ONI coin is, of course, the blockchain. But we still want to cover it really short at the start of this section today. And there are three major parts where utility is created. The first one is subchains. You all know the idea and the concept behind subchains is to make it as simple as possible for anyone out there to create their purpose-built blockchain on top of our own DAG-based infrastructure, and especially interesting for companies that are interested in more sensitive use cases where privacy is more important, which is subchains are the perfect solution for in the future. And there are two primary ways for the ONI coin as an essence to making subchains function. One is the auctions for subchains, something that we thought about is kind of creating auctionary mechanisms for subchain operators, as we won't completely open up the subchain network to anyone at the start. It will be gated through the auction mechanism. And then secondary is the stake that operators need to put up to operate a subchain. This is kind of similar like a stake a validator puts up. It basically is there to economically secure the whole ONINO ecosystem against bad and faulty actors, which is solved through putting up economic stake that can be slashed and thus hurts anyone that wants to harm the network also financially. The second utility is as straightforward as it can be. It is the payment for transactions. We still want to cover it as its primary mechanism for one hand paying for transactions that are then validated, and the fees in the background get restructured and basically distributed across all stakeholders in the network. And the last one for the ONINO blockchain itself is staking, something that many of you have been accessing so far. There's a lot of activity going on the ONINO wallet or the ONINO web wallet, where you can delegate your stake. It's simply for enhancing the security of the network and for giving access to participation and validation, and also potential future features. That being said, we are still working on some special features for any one of our supporters to also create their own validator nodes in the future. More on that will follow once we have made some more developments. And with that, I can pass the mic over to Kai, who will go into the ONINO tokenization platform, where we go deeper into how the token and the only coin, now that the blockchain is launched, is really important for the growth of all of our ecosystem in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lucas. Before we do so, let's just quickly jump right into the next slide and just have a quick recap of, for everybody new joining to the community update, what the tokenization platform actually is, what it actually does. So just a quick recap. We don't want to bore our long community members too much, but just a quick rundown. So the ONINO tokenization platform basically enables to match people who want to invest in innovative assets with any kind of company who wants to get innovative kinds of funding for their company. We run the tokenization platform. We're going to run it as our own ONINO tokenization platform in the future, but we're also going to provide it as a white label framework for different marketplace runners who then basically can run their own tokenization marketplace. And so to say, you can think of the tokenization platform as a technological toolkit that makes the whole process, everything around tokenization that is normally quite complex, quite cumbersome, makes it straightforward and super easy. This starts from the investor onboarding, which our platform handles automatically in a very compliant yet user-friendly fashion. Then it goes on to the tokenization technology, which is lying in the background, which allows to tokenize on different tokenized asset standards on different blockchains. Basically, the full suite of tokenization tools you need. On the other hand, it also covers all types of international cross-border payments for these tokenized assets. It also handles the custody of the wallets that hold the tokenized assets in the background, all the way down until to, for example, a tokenized securities register, as well as a clear regulatory documentation and audit log trail. So basically, you can think of the tokenization platform as your full-fledged toolkit that takes care of everything around tokenization, equips issuers with all the tools they need to tokenize assets, and investors, you, for example, as a community member, to have easy access with a clean and straight user interface to the latest investment opportunities. And as Lucas already mentioned, our ONI coin, as it is now correctly called, also has several kinds of utility within our tokenization platform ecosystem, which we are going to shortly touch upon in the next slides. So first of all, we have 4 different stakeholders on the platform, right? So we have, on the one hand, we have the issuers, we have the providers, investors, as well as the community. And basically between all of these stakeholders on the platform, we have different value streams. And our focus was to involve the ONI token in each of these value streams as good as we can. So it makes sense for the product on the one hand, and on the other hand, also gives true utility to the ONI coin. So the first definitely is the payment in the form of ONI for issuers. So as you know, basically any kind of issuer who wants to use our tokenization infrastructure and technology, our tokenization platform, has to pay several kinds of fees, which have different forms and shapes. Some can be monthly, some can be on a percentage basis. And we are going to enable the payment of all of these fees in the future in the form of ONI payments. This is the, so to say, one-hand utility we're going to create for issuers on the platform. Basically, all of their payments can be made super easily and directly to our wallets in ONI. The next thing, number 2, would be, on the other hand, the financing of assets, or so to say, the investments in ONI, so to say, right? It means basically, next to all of the other payment methods, like, for example, Stripe, credit card, Google Pay, Apple Pay, different kinds of stable coins and other cryptocurrencies, we will also enable the payment or purchasing, so to say, of tokenized assets directly in the form of ONI, which means, so to say, everyone who can, or who owns ONI tokens can use them directly to pay super easily within a few seconds on the platform for their tokenized assets they want to acquire. And also the extreme benefit we want to integrate there basically is that we are applying a discount for all of the payments, so to say, made in ONI, which is still to be defined in more detail. It also depends on the requirements of the respective token issuer. And this discount will be used in order to incentivize people to actually use the ONI token for payments for their tokenized assets over compared to other payment methods. And then the third, so to say, as we already mentioned, is the discount, so to say, right? So that means you have a straight clear advantage for basically winning these using the ONI token for the payments. And fourth, just quickly jump to the next slide. The ONI token will also directly be used for the referral system in our ONINO tokenization platform. So just a quick recap for it as well. Our technology stack has an automated referral system directly integrated. That means that every user, for example, you as a community member or potential investor for the ONI platform, can, with a few clicks, easily assemble your referral link, share it with your friends, with your family, colleagues, invite everyone to join the platform. And when they actually make an investment on the platform, that you will be rewarded with a so-called referral reward, and these will also be paid on the platform directly in the form of ONI coins. And also, lastly but not least, basically maybe one of the most interesting advantages for you guys as a community is the fact that all of the ONI token holders can stake their ONI tokens. Also, a future feature we're talking about here, so the exact amounts and holding periods are still to be defined. It will also vary depending on the requirements of the respective issuer. But yeah, basically, we want to give early access to the most exciting new tokenized asset investment projects for token holders who have staked their tokens. So you can imagine it quite simple. Just to give you a few example numbers, say, for example, you have locked or staked your ONI token for 30 days or for 60 days. That will automatically then give you, for example, 3 days earlier access to a new investment opportunity listed on your new tokenization platform over everyone else who has not staked any ONI tokens. So you see also in our tokenization platform, we have quite a broad variety of utility for the ONI coin. As I mentioned before, basically in every value stream between the different stakeholders that is happening on the new tokenization platform, we have also involved the ONI coin to some extent. And with that, want to give it some clear and straightforward utility. But yeah, not only in our blockchain, but and in our tokenization platform, we have utility for ONI token, but also in the broader ONINO ecosystem, there will be some utilities for the ONI token, which Lucas will elaborate more on in detail now.
Yes, thank you, Kai. So, as you all know, our primary goal with the ONINO ecosystem, spanning across our blockchain, the tokenization platform, our additional toolings, and also our developer platform, is to create a network of connected applications that is specifically tailored to tokenization of financial assets, bringing traditional finance on-chain and being one of the major players in that space. For that, we are currently evaluating 3 major use cases for the ONI coin that are directly tied to bringing more trust and more security into assets that are deployed on chain. The first one we're talking about is allowing security deposits in ONI itself. So essentially, you can think about it in a way that when someone issues like a loan, you always want to be secured in a way that if the person or the company that kind of acquires the loan defaults, so it cannot pay back the yield, that you will then access whatever security that was deposited at the start. And we are currently evaluating systems where we can create a secure and efficient storage in terms of value, where the ONI coin is a major part of these security deposits and bringing more security to anyone that invests in tokenized assets. Then another big thing we're looking into is the general backing of assets in ONI. If you think about it, there are 2 ways you can go in terms of looking at tokenization. So either you tokenize like a contractual structure, for example, you do not tokenize the real estate itself, but you tokenize the financial loan behind that real estate, and that generates yield. Or you tokenize an actual asset. And then there's always the question, where's the backing this asset has? Or let's look at a stablecoin. A stablecoin has to be backed and pegged to the dollar, for example, like it is with USDC, that anyone of us is using almost on a daily basis. So we are currently looking into ways where we can integrate the ONIcoin as a foundational piece for all the future financial products launched on our own blockchain, in terms of using it as a mechanism to back these assets that are launched. It doesn't have to be 100% backed by ONI, but it could be backed by a portion, let's say 10 to 50% allowance to back something with the native coin of our network, creating much more usage generally, and also with the goal to create a much more transparent and trusted system, as anyone has access to seeing how the backing is actually structured. And then the third, and also one of my personal favorites we're currently looking into, is an on-chain asset insurance. I believe anyone listening to that right now can relate to this, because anyone has lost money before on whatever investment they made. And we're looking for ways where, if, for example, a default happens on a tokenized bond that is given out, because of course, after doing multiple background checks, you can never be sure that a comet does not hit the real estate and thus the loan defaults. You always have to create a mechanism around it. And we're looking for on-chain insurance that is also tied to the ONIcoin, and you could say the insurance is backed by the ONIcoin, tying into the thing I talked about before, and thus paying out insurance payments for anyone that loses on their investment into tokenized assets. All three of these, as I mentioned, it's important to note that these are things we're currently evaluating. We're evaluating them from a legal point of view, we're evaluating them from a business perspective, and we're evaluating them from how will people actually accept such features. Generally, we believe that these are core fundamental pieces to create a functioning system, financial system on chain, and we're looking forward to creating these. But be aware, it's nothing that will happen overnight. And with that, I will pass on the mic, and we will go into benefits for any and every member of this community by holding the ONIcoin.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucas. I'm going to take over here again. Yeah, benefits for ONI token holders is the last thing we're going to talk about today regarding token utility. There's some really interesting things already with the tokenization platform, the ONINO ecosystem, the ONINO blockchain. But generally also, we think that there might be some interesting things to do with benefits for generally ONI token holders and ONI token stakers. So let's jump right into this without further ado. The first one is the one that Kai already touched upon. It's priority access for token sales, or essentially fundraising, financing projects on the ONINO token platform, tokenization platform. I don't need to explain too much around it. It's like Kai mentioned, if you hold ONI or if you stake ONI, there will be priority access on chosen projects. This may be, for example, you hold a specific amount of ONI and then you get access 24 hours earlier than the rest of the investors, or something like that, special conditions and all those things. How exactly we're going to do this, we are still working on it, but priority access is something that is definitely going to come in some way or another. Then staking and validation. This is something that was also on the first slide regarding things you can do regarding token utility on a blockchain in general. So I don't think we need to go too much into this. You can either stake or be a validator with your tokens, and this leads to network security, network stability, and everything that we like about blockchains, for example, decentralization as well. Then protocol governance. This will become really interesting in the future. Of course, the bigger the protocols get, the bigger and the more things there's going to be to decide. And with the token, you hold the right to be part of the governance, even if we think about a future where the protocol might even become more and more decentralized and more decoupled from ONINO as it is on the moment. At the moment, as we kickstarted it, of course, ONINO still has, I would say, a bigger part of, for example, at the moment, the validators and the staking pools and providers. But the more and more people come onto the blockchain, the more and more external validation power we have, the more and more decision power we have, and also development we have, the more and more the blockchain will go into community hands. And protocol governance is just one of those parts that's going to be really interesting. Then transactions, I think this is something that doesn't need to be explained. You want to send something on the ONINO blockchain, you will need the ONI token to be able to send transactions. And then something that's going to be really interesting as well, something that we are discussing at the moment and looking into, so it's not a given, is an on-chain ID. There's many possibilities how we could do this. For example, you have the wallet in which there could be the identifying features. We have the ONINO tokenization platform in which you will do KYC. There will be, like Kai mentioned, white label platforms as well. So technically almost the same platform as we have, but with a different front end, different design, and different provider. And we may be able to share the ID between all those. And this ONINO on-chain ID is something that dates back to even the first days. We've been pitching this from the start. It is much more complicated than we anticipated and maybe you anticipated, not from a technical standpoint, but from a legal standpoint. So it's pretty easy to build that, but you don't need to build it and just like, yeah, let's have an ID. No one's going to use it. The whole point of on-chain IDs is to have applications where those are chosen to be allowed and used. And this is something where we really need to work with regulators or create your own products. And this is what we're doing. So on-chain ID is a very potentially possible and very interesting feature that's going to come, or that may come at some point as well. Yeah, and if this has been a little too much, we are going to have a detailed blog article coming soon as well, recapping all this. We are going to implement this in the onino.foundation website, and we are going to implement this in the new white paper. And there's going to be an update at some point sooner or later as well. So you can look forward to this. And if you haven't memorized everything, we will have a blog article summarizing that very soon. Okay, let's jump right to the next topic, which is the team. We have talked about token utility. Now we're talking about the team. As you see, everything has been growing at ONINO. We have been onboarding more and more clients. We have started our blockchain, and just naturally, subsequently, now we are going to have more people working on the team, specifically in marketing or business development and sales. And we like to see all of those as kind of one department, because sales, marketing, business development work very closely together. And we are very happy to welcome 2 new members to the team. One is Karen. He is going to be the head of marketing, and he is going to focus mostly on Web3, but also on Web2. And Chili, who's going to help us with business development. Both of them are amazing people. Chili, we have announced already with a blog article. Karen, we're going to do this week. And we're really, really happy to have both of them. Both are brilliant minds, have different backgrounds, but are extremely eager to work with us, and we're extremely to work with them. And they have backgrounds that are really, really beneficial for the ONINO team. Karen, for example, has, I think, more than 30 years of marketing experience, 10 years of Web3 experience. Chili has been following it ever since, I have the feeling, and is very deeply involved into this. So it's been amazing working with them for the first couple of days and weeks already, and really looking forward to what we can achieve with them together. And the team is growing and growing, so really happy to have those 2 additions to the amazing ONINO team, and more to come very soon, very likely. All right, this brings us to the last segment, which are the questions. So as always, feel free to leave your questions anywhere at any time. But if you do have questions, just right now, feel free to leave them in the chat where you are, maybe on X, maybe on Telegram. We're going to do our best to answer those questions. And with this, I would say thank you very much. We're going to answer them in written form. So thank you for joining this month's community update. We are really looking forward to seeing you on the next community update, which is always on the first Monday of the month at 8 p.m. CET. So thank you for listening in, for joining us, and see you next month.
Thank you all for joining, everybody. Have a wonderful night. See you soon.
See you next time, everyone. Have a great evening.